Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here, streaming for you live. We have a big problem on the sun, and that is this trans-equatorial coronal hole. Now, what is a coronal hole? It's an area in the outermost atmosphere of the sun, the solar corona, that is deficient or devoid of the normal plasma that exists there. So it's a very low temperature and it is a low density. And it's really more a symptom of what's happening with the sun electromagnetically. We are right now in solar cycle 25, and specifically solar cycle 25 maximum, meaning that the sun is in the middle of its polarity flip. Because you have the North Pole, the South Pole, but you have the magnetic poles, and they flip about every 12 years. And during solar maximum, when the sun is pumping out the most energy, it's the most chaotic and active, that is when those clear polar magnetic poles, they effectively disappear. The sun goes multipolar, and then they re-emerge about 6 years later, again on the other side of that solar maximum during solar minimum. So you get these sort of coronal holes to form because the magnetic field of the sun is streaming out to space, effectively not reconnecting like you get with these coronal loops. We don't see it the best with our 211 angstrom view here, but you do see some areas where the magnetic field kind of connects back together. See, like right there, the plasma on the field lines illustrating that, illuminating that. Well, at the coronal hole, it basically just streams out. And so you accelerate these particles like hydrogen, helium, sometimes heavier elements, even up to like iron and more, out into interplanetary space. It creates a high-speed stream of low-density solar wind. And so in this specific angstrom view, the sun shows up dark because there's not that much material there. So it's actually devoid of mass and material. We just had a big coronal hole sweep by for the 12th time. And the reason that this could be a big problem is because we had this coronal hole sweep by for the 11th time back in the middle of July. And it actually gave us 3 high-speed stream impacts due to its structure. And then following up behind it was this coronal hole on its last rotation. And well, it was almost immediately after we were hit by that high-speed stream that we had that magnitude 8.8 megaquake. So there is this connection between coronal holes on the sun and the interplanetary magnetic field, high-speed streams, and Earth geophysical rhythms that are active in terms of earthquake activity, volcanoes. There's quite a lot of research into this. You can do your own research if you want to learn more. I do talk about that on the channel, so if you'd like to learn more, then please subscribe. But if you want like the in-depth research papers, then just go on Google Scholar, type in sun, solar activity, and earthquake, something like that, and you'll get a whole bunch of papers that you can read and you can make up your own mind, and you can even start to look into this data yourself if you want to. There's, for example, a lot of AI tools which are pretty useful if you know how to use them. And so the other thing that's combining with this factor that is at play right now, soon to sweep by us, and last time it did, we had that 8.8 megaquake. Not saying that's going to be the case again. We've had a whole bunch of coronal hole high-speed streams sweep by, not give us megaquakes, but they do seem to provoke higher magnitude earthquake activity, especially if you get multiple swings around by them. So again, this one there, which we're only seeing the end of, 12 rotations. This one there, it's now been quite a few rotations. It's this loading effect that seems to occur. Well, this is also lining up in time when there is a natural rhythmic spike in magnitude 6+ activity globally for the Northern Hemisphere, really specifically, but also in a broad sense for the Southern Hemisphere. And this is some research that I did. I gathered a whole bunch of USGS data, and I looked at just basically the dates of all the magnitude 6 earthquakes, and you see a clear periodicity to it, and it has to do with the solstice and equinox points, and therefore, as a result, the charging of the ionosphere. So we'll talk about that data as well, but that is also lining up with this. So there's just naturally more higher magnitude earthquakes at this moment in time due to the tilt angle of the Earth. We're not guaranteed to have anything. Again, there's a whole bunch of factors. Faults need to be at critical stress thresholds, a whole bunch of other things too. But we have that also basically lining up exactly with this coronal hole high-speed stream impact, which is going to happen imminently. Now, in addition to this, it's more than just this. In addition to this, we just had a magnitude 5.6 earthquake strike right near Brisbane, Australia. So a big earthquake. And this is a magnitude 5.6 according to the Australian government, the Geoscience Australia. It is a 4.9 according to the USGS. And normally I report the USGS magnitudes, but I don't feel that's accurate in this case because I had immediately some subscribers reach out to me and describe their experience with that earthquake. And so in particular, one person up in Hervey Bay, Queensland, which is over here, right in this zone, she was laying in bed meditating and experienced 20 seconds approximately of intense shaking. And so that doesn't really sound like a 4.9 to me. Knowing how earthquakes, their kind of intensity and everything, now it depends on a whole bunch of factors, the regional geology, the distance from it, the seismic wave characteristics of that specific earthquake. But 20 seconds of intense shaking, that's not probably a 4.9. 5.6 though, that would make sense. And so we see Brisbane down there. Here's the epicenter of this quake. And actually it looks like the Geoscience Australia just dropped it to magnitude 5. So that is interesting. It was a 5.6 when I loaded this up originally. It looks like they just dropped it to a magnitude 5. If we go to the USGS site, let's see what they say now. Actually, let me go ahead and refresh this. But 20 seconds of intense shaking. Someone else also reached out to me, said that they felt it very strongly. They were also up in that area, Queensland area. So interesting. But this is not an area where you typically get earthquakes. Magnitude 4.9 according to the USGS. Right near Brisbane. So this is a big city. And again, if you look here, we have our plate boundary all the way out here. This is pretty far away from the plate boundary. So if we go to our 30 days, for example, you won't see any earthquakes in Australia except that one. So this earthquake along the Gold Coast is quite significant. Magnitude 5 according to the Geoscience Australia now, originally pegged as a 5.6, USGS has as a 4.9. And there is a pretty big difference between a 5 and a 5.6. So interesting. But that just happened. I wanted to show you that because there is always a potential for earthquakes to occur near or under big cities. And so we had that megaquake that occurred. Where did that occur? Well, it was up here off the Kamchatka Peninsula, right there. And yeah, there are some cities there. I guess the population of some of these cities is like maybe this one right here. Petropavlovsk is maybe 250,000. I think that's what someone said, but maybe it's less. I think that's the main city though. But in general, there wasn't much in effect from that, though there was a tsunami and there was some damage to, I guess, a nuclear submarine base for Russia and also some fishing infrastructure and more. But you can get big earthquakes under, big cities. It's not impossible. It certainly can happen. For example, we had this 4.3 here in Los Angeles. I covered that earthquake. Right, a bit of a, not exactly right underneath Los Angeles, nearby, near Riverside, San Bernardino, but you could get a big earthquake under a big city. And so we have this coronal hole high-speed stream soon to sweep by after we've had a ton of loading since October of last year. It's been nearly a year now of continuous high-speed stream loading, not just from that long-lived one that was 12 rotations now, but other coronal holes that popped up in other areas. But it's really the trans-equatorial ones that really hit you strongly. And that is exactly what we have here. We see that this is a trans-equatorial coronal hole. And it's been getting larger, as you can tell. So it's been filling in the central section, and it's made up of multiple parts now. When we looked at this last time, about 28 days ago, it was quite a bit smaller. So this is also a negative polarity, meaning that's going to couple nicely to Earth's magnetic field. Impact is expected around August 18th. So that is coming up in just a few days. That is Monday. And right now it is Friday. So I think it may even come in a little sooner than that. But either way, Sunday or Monday is effectively the time window we're looking at for this coronal hole high-speed stream impact. And this lines up with what we've been seeing across recent geologic time for when we have the most earthquakes, magnitude 6 or greater. So here is some of that data that I crunched. And in fact, it is from this research paper right here, published on my website, earthevolution.com. Just a basic paper. Hasn't been peer reviewed or anything. I just took some data in, crunched the numbers, and put it on the website. You can read it. I'll put a link to this in the video description if you want. Simple stuff. I don't want to get bogged down with some of these things. Eventually, we're going to peer review stuff, but for right now, it's more important to get the information out there, in my opinion. So this is one of the graphics. Northern Hemisphere, number of earthquakes, magnitude 6 or greater by day of year, going from 1900 up to 2025. When I did this research, I think it was about middle July, okay? So we're missing a few data points, but not many. You'll notice for the Northern Hemisphere, a big spike right there, right before the vernal equinox, which is interesting. Also a big spike in the Southern Hemisphere, so kind of unusual how at the vernal equinox point you get this big spike in earthquakes. Though that could be from just one significant earthquake and then a whole bunch of aftershocks. This could be aftershocks from the Great Tohoku earthquake of 2011. But in general, look right here. This is certainly a statistically significant trend. This is right where we are now in time, because this is our summer solstice. This is our autumnal equinox. Well, right in between that is the middle of August. So we are right now in this period of time, one of the most distinct periods where you have an elevated rate of magnitude 6 plus earthquake activity on the globe in the Northern Hemisphere. Then if we look down here for the Southern Hemisphere, you notice this kind of a broad trend like that clustered around the autumnal equinox. So you have other variations here too, but you really do see this pretty clear broad trend. And this has to relate to the ionosphere, how the Earth is changing its tilt relative to the sun. And therefore, during solstice, for example, summer solstice, that would be the Northern Hemisphere tilted the most towards the sun, receiving the most light radiation. The ionosphere in the Northern Hemisphere is going to be very charged up. And then it's during the equinox that you have the greatest transition in that charge from north to south or south to north. And so for summer solstice in the Southern Hemisphere, so this would be actually their winter solstice, right? This is like June. They are going to have the most decharged ionosphere because they're going to be tilted away from the sun. But as that changes, they're going to be tilted increasingly towards the sun. And so you get these rhythms that are in earthquake activity that seem to be modulated by the tilt angle of the Earth relative to the sun due to how that affects the global electric circuit, that flow of energy around the globe. So this right there does not guarantee that we're due something big, because we see here it's the number of earthquakes. This is 30, and then it goes up to 40 there. And this is, of course, by day of year. And this is for the past 125 years or so. So it's not like we get a magnitude 6 every single day, but there does seem to be a clear trend there where we get more magnitude 6 plus earthquakes right around the date range that we are in now, middle of August, in the Northern Hemisphere. So I wanted to also bring that to your attention because this is lining up pretty nicely with this coronal hole right there and that impact, which is going to start on August 18th. And the situation is effectively the same as it was last time when we had that magnitude 8.8 that followed right afterwards. We just got hit by this high-speed stream. We are now declining. This one is coming up next. Let's look at our space weather because we actually have some significant things to talk about here. Most importantly is our radiation belts. We are fully charged with our radiation belts from that high-speed stream. If we look at our 7-day, we see that we bottomed out. Now we've been well charged up, actually past this warning threshold quite significantly. Here's where we are right now. And so these radiation belts surround the planet. They are these clouds, you could say, of extremely high energy electrons and protons and even some heavier ions at times like helium and even oxygen. Well, when they finally kind of get pushed down into the Earth, they follow down the magnetic field and then they hit the ionosphere and other parts of the upper atmosphere and they charge it up. Now you have a stronger global electric circuit. So you get these sort of space weather impacts to come in like a solar storm or a high-speed stream, and they will initially cause the radiation belts to dump their ions downwards into the global electric circuit, the ionosphere, the upper atmosphere, again, as I said. But then this plasma vacuum that's created in that zone, going from about 1 to 10 Earth radii, recharges. And so now we are at basically full charge for the radiation belt. So when we get this coronal hole high-speed stream impact around the 18th of August, we are going to have a precipitation event that occurs. And this is something that happens quite frequently, but it's another factor added into this whole equation, which is why I'm mentioning it, because that is important. Another thing that seems to be important is the ionosphere, as I've discussed already, but how that's charged by solar flares. We just got out of a regime of intense charging of the ionosphere due to a lot of sunspots and them having a lot of solar flares. So we see our X-ray flux here over the past 7 days, and this actually is going all the way back to about August 3rd for when we had a lot of activity all in this range. Look at how we've gone down now, and yes, we did have a 2 high C-class flares right here, but in general, we are now at the bottom of this range, whereas just a few days ago, we were near the top of this range. This is an order of magnitude scale, watts per square meter. So that is a 10x difference in the amount of X-ray light radiation that we've been receiving. Also, extreme ultraviolet light radiation has also gone down. And it seems that it's after you get the ionosphere to charge up and then you get to start to decharge, that's when these big earthquakes are most common. So again, we already had that magnitude 8.8 megaquake. That does not exclude the potential of something else happening, but it would be pretty unlikely for us to get another megaquake to follow right afterwards. That has happened before in geologic time and history, even our observational record, of course. But in terms of higher magnitude earthquake activity, like magnitude 6 plus, magnitude 7 plus, that's certainly now more likely to occur than otherwise. And I, in fact, put out a earthquake watch starting about 4 days ago, just wrapped up, based off of the coronal hole high-speed stream that we were in. And while we did not go and hit a magnitude 6.5 to 7 plus, which is a good thing, we did have 3 big earthquakes during this time frame. So it was actually right before that time frame. We had this 6.1 in Turkey here, as you can see, but then we also had a 6.3 in Indonesia, and that was on the 12th of August, and then also just yesterday a 6.3 in around the Solomon Islands. And so what's interesting about that is that we had this 6.3 just about 30 hours ago, and now we've had this magnitude 5 earthquake there northwest of Brisbane. Originally clocked in at a 5.6 according to Australians. They have downgraded it to a 5. USGS has it as a 4.9. But we did have some subscribers reach out to me and say 20 seconds of intense shaking, which that doesn't seem like a 4.9 to me. I was hit by a magnitude 5.2 in San Diego not too long ago. It's not going to show up on the map unless I change the parameters, but that wasn't that far off. It was here in Julian, and I was down, here in this zone. So that is not that far away, and it wasn't 20 seconds of intense shaking. It was basically just one big jolt. So make all this what you will, but that is the update for you. One last thing is that we do have a hurricane, our first hurricane of the season in the Atlantic Ocean. It is moving towards North America at this moment in time. So we have Hurricane Erin, currently a Category 1 earthquake moving westwards. This is the model that they have, kind of going like this, sweeping up the coast. They do expect it to strengthen to a Category 4 hurricane at this moment in time. So this is just a Category 1, but I guess due to some of the atmospheric factors and ocean water temperature, it's expected to strengthen to a Cat 4. What we'll have to wait and see is whether it does kind of go like this or whether it just barrels straight in, because you never really know. You know, these forecasts are getting better and better all the time, but you never know. Nature fundamentally is chaotic and unpredictable. And so we can see the growth of Hurricane Erin on our GOES satellite image viewer. So we have some recent imagery here, and we can watch this. This is our band 13 long wave infrared observed by GOES East, and we see Hurricane Erin here strengthening quite significantly just during this short time frame there, and you can see the date and time right here. So Hurricane Erin is barreling in, moving pretty quick, as you'll notice. It's not going to take that long before it reaches up there. And so some of the initial forecasts for the east coast of the United States is that there's going to be rain, rain, rain next week. But we'll have to see. And we'll have to see, you know, hurricanes can do crazy things. It may decide to tear up the Caribbean. It may not just stay offshore of everything. But there is a connection between hurricanes and just in general cyclones and earthquakes. So there are some faults in this area that are very, very powerful and can have big, big earthquakes. And so anytime you get a big system moving through the Caribbean, you have to kind of keep that in mind. It's not guaranteed connection or anything like that, but we do see that there is a connection between them due to atmospheric gravity waves, how those are created by cyclones, how those propagate out, pressure changes along the seafloor and more, and also electromagnetic effects. So it's really quite dynamic and a puzzle that we're still filling in the pieces on. But we have that in play as well. So that is the update for you today. I'm going to close off with just an announcement that the pirate shirt is in stock. Everyone's favorite shirt, it seems. I often wear this in my broadcasts. Every time I do, people love it. For the most part, well, it is finally in stock. And I was thinking about offering this, and when I first actually picked up some for myself, you know, the green and the beige one that I have. But then I was like, well, we'll just wait and see. I have other things to do. But so many people were asking about the pirate shirt. So I do have it in stock now, and it comes in two colors, beige and also in green, or it's like a light green, it's like a jade color. It has these sleeves that you can roll up. They're really fantastic. Good skin protection from it. It's 100% cotton and linen. So it's actually like a more linen, but it's like a linen cotton blend. So sits really nice on the body, and it's easy. It's very breathable because of this lace top. Some people call it the pirate shirt or the Renaissance shirt. I just like the style of it. I didn't buy it for any specific reason like that. I just thought it was a unique style, which is why I bought it. So this is available. There's a sizing guide here. This is the men's sizing right here. So if you want to pick this up, you can go to earthevolution.com/store, check it out. And then also to just do one more announcement before signing off. We just mixed up a whole bunch of new herb coffee. So herb coffee is fully in stock with a fresh batch, 50% single origin organic shade-grown Peruvian coffee, really good stuff. Then it's also chicory root, roasted dandelion root, and 12.5% lion's mane mushroom. All of it completely organic. I source the highest quality stuff. And because 1/8 of this is lion's mane, this is no pixie dust and then, you know, putting it on the front, lion's mane, and, you know, all these scammers out there nowadays that disguise themselves as out there for you. Like, this is the real legit stuff. It's awesome. And I sell it at a fair price. So if you want to pick some up, we just put it back in stock. A whole bunch now are ready and waiting for you. Really excellent to drink in the morning. Tastes just like coffee. Actually, it has an even like richer, a little bit earthier flavor to it. Really, really good. It's not like these other herb coffees or mushroom coffees where you're like, this isn't coffee. It's still 50% coffee. That means it's half caf, which in many ways is better for you. So still get a little bit of caffeine, but not too much. You can drink this in the afternoon and be fine as a result of that. But really good for focus, creativity, productivity, and also it's neuroplastic in many ways because of the lion's mane. So if there's something that you want to kind of like get focused and in the zone and in a flow state for, you don't want to get distracted, this is great to drink. And then while you're doing that, it's also going to be rewiring your brain. So like if you want to start doing a lot of research, like reading research papers or reading a good research heavy book, or let's say you are embarking upon like a creative project, you're video editing, or you have a lot of things lined up in front of you. There's a whole bunch of stuff. If you're doing anything that you want to mentally optimize, this stuff is the best. And if you don't want optimization, you actually would rather to like calm down, de-stress, then I would definitely recommend the spirituality. 4 ingredients: purple lotus flower, chamomile, mugwort, passion flower. This stuff is awesome, all organic, really helps you to rest, relax, sleep, also enhances dreams, great for yoga, meditation. Some people even have had some interesting astral travel experiences with that. So your mileage may vary, but this stuff is also awesome and a fantastic deal for the price. 4 ounces of all organic herbal tea. I just bought some herbal tea here in Hawaii. It's one of the native plants on Hawaii, and then also some chamomile. And there's like 1.4 ounces in the bag, and it cost me $18. I was like, what the heck is this? But you know, I wanted to have some tea, so you know, I went ahead and threw down the cash for it. But that was like 1.4 ounces for $18. We have other tea blends here, fruit tea. All these are 4 ounces. They are at very, very fair, reasonable prices. You get a ton, and there are more products available as well. You can drink your coffee and your tea out of a Solar Storm tumbler. So the pirate shirt, though, that's the main announcement. That is now in stock on the website. Limited quantities. So if you are thinking about, you want to like pick one up, I would do it sooner rather than later, because they're probably going to sell out pretty quick, because this is a trial run. So yeah, that is the update for you all. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with this coronal hole here. It's looking quite large, quite dynamic. I think it's going to give us quite a shake here on the Earth, but hopefully nothing too big, and hopefully away from the population centers. But sometimes those earthquakes do strike under a city, and it can be devastating. So let us hope and pray that does not occur. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been your host, Stefan Burns. Smash that like button, help this channel grow, and subscribe to stay updated with what is happening with the Earth. We cover earthquakes, volcanoes, solar activity, space weather, planetary resonances, cosmic influences, metaphysics, and more. So if you like the sound of that, then this is your place, your home. We just passed 400K. We're on the road to 500 now. It's incredible. So grateful for each and every single one of you here on the channel participating and more. And I will be back with updates as necessary, as that is my duty, my responsibility, my job for you all. So thank you all so much. I'll see you all very soon.